Good evening, everyone. This is Dayhawk, your favorite Daedric Prince, bringing to you episodes 21 of Shaman King 01 and Shaman King 2021, episode 10. Well, guys, I was wrong. Here I thought I was going to make two episodes because I saw in the previews that supposedly there is an episode dedicated to Ryu, but in some way, shape, or form, it wasn't. And I'll tell you about it soon. Um, I'm gonna go on to say that episode 21, even though it was meant to be serious, it was a fun episode. It really was. And episode 21 starts with where where it's left off when Balzon appeared crying and playing to Yo that hey, Ren has been captured by his father and we need to rescue him right away. He has nowhere else to turn to, this and that. And it starts where Balzon tells the story how Ren got captured and he was beating he got beat up to a bloody pulp by the brainwashed pylon, all thanks to his father, Tao In. And while he was telling his story, Anna, well, Yo wants to go rescue Ren. Obviously, everybody wants to rescue Ren, but unfortunately, Anna has placed her foot down and pretty much telling Yo that the Tao family is a family that you cannot mess with them. They're too dangerous. And she even said that the Tao family is a bit up there next to the Yasukuras by name and by the ways of shamanism and magics and all that stuff. They're pretty much up there. Only the Tao family is a little bit higher up than the Asakura family. And also mentions that you have a month until the tournament begins, so it's pretty much a big no. Then meanwhile, you have Ryu defeating his final opponent, and he officially is part of the tournament now. He passed the primaries, and then it cuts into the scene where you see in the graveyard and you see all these ghosts surrounding, not really surrounding Amidamaru's tomb, but they're down there having like a huge get together, a party. But then you listen to this mysterious music in the background, and all these ghosts looks up in the sky with this yellow light and all that stuff. And then it cuts into Horo, Manta, and Yo sneaking behind Anna's back and goes to the graveyard. And already Amidamaru senses something that's off. And then, lo and behold, here comes the Boss Brothers with their guitars, their monk getup, and they appear at the top of Midamaru's grave. And of course, one of them knocked the tombstone off, which it tends to happen every single time. It happened, I think, twice. And the way they introduce themselves, they have this goofy intros. It almost looks like the Ninja Force intro, only more lame. More lame, and And you could tell by the gang, Bazan, Aminomaru, uh, Manta, Yo, and I think Tamao was a part of that group as well, if I could remember correctly. Um, uh, they're with their gas looks and of course the the brothers are like we're famous, we're good, this and that. They're shocked with awe and all that stuff. But little that they realize that they're pretty much their intro, the poses are really horrible to the point where uh let me see, uh Tamao's ghosts, Ponchi and Conchi, they were laughing at them, and it was really hilarious. And so what started happening is that they play their song, and then all of a sudden you see uh, uh, Conchi and Ponchi, Conchi and Ponchi, you see them going into the light. You see them going into the light, and not only them, Amidamaru and Bazan, they went into the light, into the heavens. So apparently, the Boss Brothers, they play this music, and apparently they have like some kind of chanting, some kind of spell that if a ghost hear them singing it, they go up into heaven. They go into the other side. And it was hilarious how Amir Maru and Bazan, they have they're sitting with their hands together, with their eyes crying, and they're just like floating into the sky, and I just find it really hilarious. And Horo and Koro, they said, well, Horo's like, well, my guardian spirit, my guardian ghost is tied to the earth, so Koro is unaffected. But one of the brothers captured Koro, and that's the end of that. As much as they're pretty goofy, I mean, you gotta say they're pretty smart in their own right, but that's just me saying. um, so without their ghosts, they're getting their ass kicked, and somewhere down in the fight, they mention Howl, which, if you guys read the manga or seen the anime, you already know who that is. And then, just as when all hope seems lost, Ryu just pops out, destroys their guitars, and the brothers just runs away. So Ryu saves the day. And so once they came to, Yo and the gang were shocked to notice that Ryu has an oracle bell, and Ryu pretty much announces that, hey, I'm now a full-fledged shaman with Tokugaru as my partner. And meanwhile, you get to see these three girls, and then they ran off to report to Hal what went down. And of course, you don't know if it's Hal, but since for people who already seen it, you already know who he is. So it's not really a spoiler, but if it's a spoiler, I'm sorry. and then Ryo tells everyone, hey, I'm gonna help you guys rescue Ren. And then Anna appears, and of course Anna returns with her magic, got Baozan, Aminomaru, and the rest of the ghosts back from heaven. And it's hilarious too, because you see Aminomaru crying and just hugging Yo, and just like, oh, Yotomo, like heaven is not so bad. It's not like you got sent to hell. Come on. I'm telling you, this episode it's hilarious. It's pretty fun. Um, let's see. So Yo was pretty much scared out of his wits because here comes Anna and figures, oh my god, am I gonna get a lecture? Am I gonna get my ass whooped? But Anna just gives the okay. And she also gives him like his passport or a guidebook, whatever, and just lets him go. And just lets him go. And then in the final scene, you get to see Ren and June all locked up together while Yo and the gang travel to China, and that's how episode 21 ends there. It's pretty fast. This episode review slash recap for episode 21 is pretty fast. And I have to admit, this episode, like I said, it was no matter, like, it was meant to be a serious episode, but with the Boss brothers coming in, and I don't know, it just made it so fun. And that's what I seriously believe that Shaman King 2021 is lacking, is the comedy and the fun stuff. But I'm not gonna end up repeating what I just said. Leading into episode 10, the Great Chief and the members of the Patch announces that announcing to the people who passed the first round that, hey, you have 1 month until the tournament officially begins. The Oracle Bell will tell you when and where you need to go. And that's it. It's just enjoy that 1 month you have, and because once the tournament begins, you will no longer be the same. That's what the chief said. So ominous and everything like that. So Yo, for the most part, is trying to go back to his normal life while trying to process everything that happened between then and now. And so it cuts into the scene where, as you can remember from episode 20, I believe it was, you get to see the Asakura Fellowship, having the celebration, and Horo just playfully picking on Ren, and Yo and Mata holding them back, and you see them all happy, like established friendships already and all that. You have it in this episode, but here it it felt different to me because, like I keep saying, in 01, their relationship up until episode 21 are already established. Here, you see Yo, Ren, Horo celebrating, and you have Monta yelling, like, what in the hell are you, Horo, his sister, Ren, why are they here? To him, it's all random. Like, what the hell are you here? And Horo mentions, we're all friends now. And of course, typical Anna fashion is like, okay, pretty much calling Horo out that you by saying you expected to live here for free. Like, pretty much he wants to live in their house for free. That's pretty much why he randomly pops into the house and eats their food and sleep in their rooms and all that stuff. So he's pretty much a freeloader. And Anna also mentions too that You better pay for yesterday's food and drink. And then Horo is like, oh my gosh. And also, instead of Yo, inviting him into his home and celebrate, it was Horo who pretty much, I'm quoting Ren, that after the opening ceremonies, Horo pretty much dragged him to come into to Yo's house and celebrate. And if you remember from the original, Horo playfully was, making fun of Ren, and they started arguing. This time, it was Horo picking a fight. And so, sorry, let me rephrase that. It was Ren who was starting to picking a fight towards Horo. So, yeah, my mistake, my bad. And so, at this point, it leads to everything that's happened in episode 20 in the original. So everything is just the same. Now here is different. So you get to see this scene where you see Tamao and Yo returning from the grocery store. And then, of course, Tamao is like, "This is my chance to get closer to Yo," and all that stuff, because we all know that she has a crush on Yo. We all know that. But the thing is come on, even Anna knows that she has a crush on Yo, and I think Anna allows it because she knows by the end of the day, Yo will always go back to Anna. Because the way I see Yo, the way Yo sees Tamao is just a friendship. There's no romance between those two at all. Even though you see Tamao like, acknowledge me, I love you, this and that, but Yo doesn't seem to be interested anyways. It's just more of a friendship or like a brother or sister relationship. And so you have those two coming out from the grocery store, and Yo decides to go through a temple as a shortcut toward, going back home. And so they go through this shrine, but then they encounter this hearse. And then if you take a look at the bottom, like their license plate, the name Boss is there. So, another appearance from the Boss brothers. And what I've noticed is that instead of the graveyard, you have Yo, Manta, no, scratch Manta, Yo, and Tamao, and the Boss brothers. And they appeared. The brothers appeared, but without their goofy intros. And they have a different attire. Everything, it's like almost like a fusion between a rock star and a monk, but it's more rock star-ish. And then everything from episode 21 is kind of the same up until, of course, without Horo Bazan. That storyline of them being the rescue party for Ren, that's a different tale. So you have the Boss brothers singing. You get to see Ponchi and Conchi going up in heaven, and they try to and they use their oversouls like they did in the other episode, but this time they took Amidamaru's stone from Yo. They took it. So instead of sending Amidamaru to heaven, they just took the summoning stone. And somehow Yo pulled a Super Saiyan and overcame their oversouls, but even with that, he could not be able to defeat the Boss Brothers without Aminomaru, obviously, and and Ponchi and Conchi. Well, they're kind of useless, but even still, like they, they will not be able to rescue them. Uh, and so and that's when Ryu in this version comes to the rescue. But before he does his ass whipping towards the brothers, he starts to be has this mini story on how he was left behind in Izumo, and he and Yo's grandfather appeared and helped train Ryu the ways of the shaman. So instead of Yo's father being the one to, to does all the training, it was Yo's grandpa. Which okay, it's okay, I guess. And then he ends up slicing the hearse up, and then that causes the brothers to just run away. And of course, they mention how so again, it's the same thing that happened in the other episode in O1. So it's and then it cuts to Hao and his spirit of fire, and then next it cuts to them having dinner with so you have Anna, Yo, Ryu, uh Anna, Manta, Ryu, Horo, except for Ren, of course, because he already left, and pretty much celebrating. They're shocked to see that not only Ryu is a shaman, he's part of the tournament now, and Tokugaru is his partner. So everybody's in shock, but they got over it. And then it leads to the final scene where you get to see Ren in the train going back to China, and what he wants to do. Like, he wants to face his father, and because like I said before in the original episode, that he wants to face his father because he's the source of his hatred, that everything began with his father. So if he could defeat him, that dark chapter of his life will be able to close and a new one can begin. He doesn't want to kill him, he just wants to defeat him as a way of moving on with his life as a changed man. And then it officially ends where you get to see Ren at the mountains where the palace is at, and pretty much faces the army of the Jianxi, and that's how the story ends, at least in this episode. So yeah, so everything that happened in episode 10 has already happened in O1 and episode 20. The only difference is Tao Jun has been captured. Ren has already been captured before he got brutally beaten up, has been beaten up pretty badly thanks to Pai Long, because he was being mind controlled by Tao In. And so 01, he's already been captured. Yo, Horo, Ryu, Manta, everybody is already on the train to China. Here is pretty much the Boss brothers, Ren going back to China to face his dad, and also the opening ceremonies, but they're like, nah. And that's it. that's pretty much it. Because in the next episode, episode 11, I'm sure everything what I just said for episode 21 is going to happen in episode 11. So, and so the old one version is already ahead of the reboot. And that's the reason why I didn't do 2 episodes, because again, everything is still in line. Everything is like there. But if I have to make a different video, in case the stories end up going to different directions, then I will. But in this case, it's 2 reviews and recaps, only one as usual. But like I said earlier, episode 21, it was a really fun episode. Episode 10 was okay. Let's just say it's okay meh. I know it's not a word, but I'm a daydream prince, so I'm allowed to do that. Well, and nothing more that needs to be said. I hope to see you guys again in the next episode. Please give a like. It really helps. And this is Dayhawk signing off. Johnny!